Hey guys, this is Tech Howdy. I welcome you to another video tutorial where we are creating this CMS application with Angular 10 and ASP.NET Core 3. In the last video tutorial, we finished creating the database, and now in this video tutorial, we will work on the backend of our application. We will be working on the admin panel. Therefore, we are going to create an area section in our ASP.NET Core application to create the backend view for the admin panel. Before we proceed, let's look at the structure of our application. Our application is divided into two parts. First, where we have the ASP.NET Core MVC app, and then we have the Angular 10 application. Our admin panel will be the part of the area section, which is inside the ASP.NET Core MVC application. I have added the admin panel in the area. That's because in case if we want to add another area in our application like the moderator area or the supervisor area or the manager area, we can add them inside the area section and have a separate structure for templates for each view. So the ASP.NET Core MVC app communicates with all the services that we create, and the services are responsible to communicate with our database, which is in MS SQL Server hosted on the Docker container. When a client app communicates with the backend, it will communicate with the MVC app, and the MVC app will be responsible to communicate with the services and the database. So these services are located in the pipeline of our application. These are only 3 services, but we will have more services implemented. In the last video tutorial, when we created the data service, we added this service to the pipeline of our application to inject them into the constructors or wherever they are needed in the application. If you haven't watched the create database video tutorial, please go ahead and watch it before you start this video tutorial. So now we have a fair idea of how the structure of this application looks. So now let's go ahead and create the area section in our main project so that we can create the admin panel. So to add the area section, go to your project, right click on it and add a new folder. Call this as area. I have already created that. So we'll name it as areas. Inside the areas, you will create a folder called as admin. Now the admin area will have a folder for controllers and also have a folder for views. Inside the views, I have created some folders. One folder for the account view, which will contain the views related to the user account, that's the admin's account. Then we have a view to change the email settings. So I have created a folder for that, which will hold all the views related to email settings. We have a home folder which will have the views related to home page of the admin panel. We have the profile view folder, the shared view folder, where we'll have all the views that we need to share across different views, all the partial views. We will add them here inside this folder. I've created a folder for site settings. So when we want to change anything on the sites, like the site name, the title, anything, we can create a view for that and store it over here. We have 2 more folders for user and user role. So all views related to user or user roles, whether we want to update, add or delete any users, we'll create those views and store them in these folders. So go ahead, create the areas folders, add the admin folder inside that area view, create a controller and a view folder inside your admin folder, and create these remaining folders. For now, these folders are empty. We have not yet created any files inside these folders. So first go ahead and create these folders so we all are on the same page, and then we can move forward from there. So views are created, basically the folders are created. So now let's create the controllers to manage these views. We will create the controller classes inside the controllers folder. So let's go ahead and add a controller. And here, when we are adding a new file, we are going to select ASP.NET Core, and then we are going to select the controller class. We will call this class as account controller because it's the controller that's responsible for communicating with the account view, or basically if any request comes in for the account view, then this controller will redirect it to the account view. So I've created the account controller. I'll hit new. Now here we don't need these extra comments. I can remove that also. Now one thing that we need to do here is we are going to create these views after we have created the controller, but we need to first specify that this controller belongs to the admin area. So for doing that, we need to add the attribute as area and specify the name of the area, which is going to be admin. If you have named your area something other than the admin, then name convention, then you have to specify that specific name. So make sure you are using the correct naming convention. So I've created a folder called as admin inside the areas, and this is the name I used here. So this is for the account controller. Let's go ahead and create all the remaining controllers that I need. So I have added all the required controllers that I need and the respective view folders. So for each controller, I have specified that they are the part of admin area by using the area attribute. Make sure you add this and don't forget to add the area attribute. So now the required controller classes have been created. Now what we would need to do, now let's go ahead and add two files in the views folder. So all these views will be processed by the Razor engine, which is going to process the views and display it on the web browser. So we are going to use MVC Razor pages to build these views. Therefore, we need to first set up two files inside the view folder. So we will go ahead and add these two files. When you go to ASP.NET Core, there are templates for this file. It's the Razor view import and the Razor view start. So first let's add these files, Razor view imports. Make sure you leave the naming convention as it is. So do not change the name. We will call it underscore view imports as specified in the template. So I hit new. The view imports file is created. Now let's go ahead and add another file, which is the view start file. So go ahead to ASP.NET Core and select the view start Razor view start file, leave the name as it is and click new. Now here inside the view start, why do we need this view start file? That's because the view start file tells Razor to use a layout file that will generate the HTML. So as we know that Razor will create the HTML for us. So if we specify a layout file in our application, it will use the same layout on all the views. So we don't have to duplicate code on every view that we are creating. For example, I have a admin panel which has his sidebar on the left. It has a menu on the top and the body in the center of the page. So I want to have this view or this layout on all pages. But if I don't specify a layout file, then I have to create that layout on every view every time. So for that, I have created a layout file, and Razor will use this layout file in all the views. But we will change the name from the default underscore layout to admin layout because this file is inside the admin area. So we can have layouts for different areas. So once again, you can leave the name as it is, or you can change it and follow me. So I have changed it to admin layout. We will create this file in a bit, but now let's go to our view imports and understand why we need this view imports folder or view imports file. So the view imports file is needed because here there are two references or two import statements. The namespace, which specifies the area admin, and the views, which means that I can use any models within my Razor pages. So I don't have to reference them on all pages. So I can use these models or model properties directly within the HTML. And we will see that as when we progress and when we start using them. The add tag helper will help us to create the HTML elements on the page like text fields, input tags, drop downs. So we can create them by using add tag helper. We don't have to use HTML. Instead, we can use the Razor syntax and create these elements. We will learn that as well as we progress. So in order to use this functionality, we need to reference, or we need to have this import file and have these import statements inside this file. So now we can close these two files and we will go ahead and create this admin layout. So this admin layout needs to be shared across all these views. As I mentioned, we don't want to duplicate the layout on every view. We need to share the same layout. Therefore, in order to share any layout with other views, we will have to put it inside the shared folder. So let's go ahead and create this admin layout inside the shared folder. Let's click new file. And here if you are in Windows, then you will have an option to create a partial view. But here I just have an option to create a Razor page, which is basically the syntax for .cs HTML. So let me select that, and then let me change it to underscore admin layout. The underscore basically in Razor pages means that the view is a partial view. It does not have a controller. It's just a partial view and can be used in different views. So I'm going to click new, and here the partial view is created. So now what I'm going to do inside this view, I'm going to create the default layout for the admin page. So here I have added some basic HTML layout that I'm going to show on the pages, on all the pages, all the views that we are going to create. We will enhance this view as we proceed in this video tutorial series, but for now I have just left it to basic. All I have done is provided a title here, which is CMS application, a description for the view, and here I have used some Razor syntax to render the style section. So any styles that we will be using inside the view, and we want to display those styles or CSS only in that specific view, then we can use these tags, which is render section styles, and same goes for render section scripts. So I want to use certain JavaScript libraries on certain views, like for example, I want to show a table of users in the user view, but I don't want to show it on the home page. Therefore, if I'm using a library from JavaScript to create that table view, I would have to load that JavaScript library in order to use that table. But I don't want to load it on all my views, on home page, on profile, on email settings. I just want to load that JavaScript library on the user view. Therefore, we use this render section scripts required to false, which basically means that if the script is required only to be loaded on certain view, then load them, otherwise don't load them. Okay, so here we have finished the basic layout template. I have added that. Now let's go to the account view or to the home view. So let's first work on the home view, because we can then load the application and see how it looks. So let's right click, go to the home controller, and we have already a index view created for us. So let's go ahead and add this index view in the account home folder. So home controller, all the views related to home controller will stay inside home folder. So let's add this view here, new file. We are going to add a Razor page, and we are going to select the view name, which is index. I'm going to add it, and let's delete this default code. All we are going to show here is an h2 tag saying admin home page, and I'm going to save this. And also now the next thing that I need to do is go back to the home controller, make sure that I have the area attribute there so that we can access it. Now when we load this application, we would not be able to access the home controller, and we will learn about it now. Let the application load and I will explain to you why we cannot access it. If we have created the controller, if we have this view, we are assuming that we would be able to access it, but we would not be able to access the view. So the application is loaded. Now let's try to access the admin view. And let's try to access the home controller. Now I hit enter. As you can see, I'm being redirected to the client app, and the reason for that is we have not implemented or added the routing for the controller views. Therefore, the browser does not know that this particular area in our application exists. An area called as admin area exists. So if a request comes to access the admin area like this, it cannot find it, and therefore it redirects the user back to the home page or back to the main client app page. So let's go ahead and add routing for our area. So to add the routing, we need to go and open our startup class. Let's scroll down. Here you will see that we have a method which says app.useEndpoints, and inside endpoints we have some controller route. The default route is for starts basically with the controller name, then we have the action name. So if anybody specifies admin / the controller name, that wouldn't work because we don't have a route related to that created in this endpoint. So let's go ahead and add that endpoint here. So I have added another controller route and I have added the endpoint. As you can see, I have named the endpoint as areas, and then I have provided the pattern that needs to be followed when redirecting to the admin area. So if you look, the admin area, I'm specifically saying that if the area exists, then if this area exists, then redirect it to that area requested controller and then to the action method. I'm also saying that if that controller does not exist, then redirect the user to the home controller and to the default action, which is the index action. So this is how we will redirect the user now if they request the admin area. So now we can save this and now try to rebuild our application, and let's see if we can access the admin area. Let's run the application. So the application is loaded. Let's try to access the admin panel. So now we can access the admin panel, basically the admin area, but we are getting some error where where the Razor page or Razor engine cannot find the underscore footer or partial layout for the footer layout. So let's go ahead and without stopping the application, let's go to the layout page, and here accidentally I've added the footer layout which we are going to create in the upcoming video tutorials. But let's go ahead and delete this now, save this file, and let's go back to the application and try to refresh it. So as you can see that I have refreshed the application, but I still see the same error. And if you have worked with Razor pages previously, then you might know that if you do any changes on the HTML or the CS HTML page, you don't need to restart your application. If you refresh the browser, you should be able to see those changes. Now why am I not seeing those changes? Once again, I'm telling you the same thing that I told you in the previous video tutorials, that ASP.NET Core, the is not shipping with the required packages. Now if you need something, you need to install it yourself. So in order for me to see the changes without restarting the application on my CSHTML pages, I need to add a NUGET package. So let me just close this and stop the application, and let's add that NUGET package. So what NUGET package I would need? I would need a NUGET package called as Microsoft.ASP.NETCore.MVC.Razor.RuntimeCompilation. So I will put the name of the package in the video description so you can download it. Let's go ahead and add that package. I'm going to search the runtime compilation package here, and I found it in NuGet. I'm going to select it, and I'm going to choose the latest stable version and add this package. Let's accept the conditions. It will add some other packages that are required to be installed along with the runtime compilation package. So the package was installed, and now let's go ahead and try to build this project to make sure that we don't have any errors. Okay, now one thing that we need to do is go back to the startup class. Here in the startup class, we need to specify to when the application runs or starts that we are going to use the runtime compilation package that we have just installed. So to do that, what we need to do, we need to add the services.addMVC, call the services.addMVC method. Then we will say we are going to use controllers and controllers as services. So, and then we will also want to use the add Razor runtime compilation. And finally, we are going to set the compatibility version to compatibility did I spell it correct, to version _3_0. So let's add the missing reference using Microsoft.ASP netcore MVC. So now we'll not have any errors because we need to set the compatibility version. We have to also specify that we are going to use the Razor runtime compilation, so we can see those changes when the page is refreshed. We don't have to start the application, and we have to specify that on the controller services. So now save this file, and now let's run this application and try to retest it again and see if we get the same error even after we have deleted that particular syntax or that line from the CSHTML file. So application is loaded. We'll go back to the admin panel, and now we can see the home page over here. We don't see any errors. If I go back to the view start or admin layout, I do an undo over here. I save this. Now this layout doesn't exist, so we obviously are going to get an error. So let's try to go back here and refresh this page. And as you can see, we have the error on page. We didn't have to restart the application. Now if I remove this error or remove this reference to the underscore footer layout file, and now I save it and refresh this page, the error is gone. So while I'm refreshing, I can see the changes. I don't have to restart the application. So that's what you need to do in your application. Install the Razor runtime compilation library, and then also add the reference or in your pipeline, which is in your startup class, that you are going to use it with the compatibility version set to 3.0 or 3_0. I'll leave this code in the DevOps repo so you will have access to it and you can change it accordingly. So now that should be it for this video tutorial. What we learned in this video tutorial was we created an admin area, we implemented the Razor Runtime compilation service so that we can see changes when we refresh the pages. We created the controllers and the views for the admin area. We have not yet created the views, but we have just created the structure. We will be creating each view and each controller in detail in every upcoming video that we are going to do. So for now, this should be it for this video tutorial. Please don't forget to like and subscribe our channel so we keep posting videos every day. Thank you.